More than 42 million viewers tuned in to watch 2024 presidential election coverage, down 25% from 2020. And part of that reason is because of people like myself and people like Steven Crowder and Dan Bongino and others. You got a nice shout out here. I'm not of the Twitch generation. I probably watch 10 YouTube videos a year, but the only person I know on the left who's prepared to compete with this right-wing dominance on these platforms is Hasan the Hun. Are there others? Taylor says there are others, but they only have tiny audiences, but they have zero funding. The entire right-wing ecosystem is propped up by billionaire donors and right-wing interest groups. There's zero equivalent on the left. I wrote about that here. This is true. That is 100% true. Left-wing media has to be grassroots funded. I'm one of the very few places where I have been able to develop a prominent stature. I've been able to develop a prominent stature in the space, become like not just a big content creator in the political realm, but a big content creator in general. Okay? Like I've never had motivations of just being like a big content creator on the left or just doing news and commentary. My ambition was always to be one of the largest content creators that is doing leftist commentary uncompromisingly. But ultimately, look at the way I operate. I don't take advertisers deliberately, okay, in an effort to maintain editorial control. I am entirely funded by subscribers. Entirely. Nothing else. And now that I don't have a contract from Twitch, I'm not even running ads, which I retain the right to do so in the future if I want to. So subscribe if you would like to no longer see the ads maybe in the future. And for that, like, that is not easy to do. And I'm not saying that because like, oh my God, woe is me. My job is the hardest. Like, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that like, it's virtually impossible to do without like billionaire donors, shadow donors, interest groups constantly pumping your shit. Okay? You can't do that. You can't do that on the left. Every leftist mobilization occurs at the grassroots level. Every single one. Okay? And that's part of the problem for a lot of my haters that want to get me deplatformed, for example. Right? They come after me, but they can't go after my advertisers. If they try to go after people advertising on this channel, then I'm not advertising. What are you going to do about it, you know? And then you're... So what do? You try to go after the platform. You say the platform is actually anti-Semitic for hosting someone like myself. But that still doesn't change the reality, right? Like, most people know right from wrong. They can still recognize it. Maybe you can dupe some people along the way that have motivated reasoning, right? But there is no real left-wing equivalent to a guy that's getting paid, you know, $1 million from the Russian government. Like, that doesn't exist. So that is a major problem. And it's not going to happen. Why don't you fund a left-wing online network is something that a lot of people do not understand, okay? This shit needs to be a tight operation. That's it. Because if it's not, then there are too many people that others can go after. There's too many areas of attack. You just don't understand it. I've come from that background. I came from the Young Turks. Look at their situation versus, like, look at where I'm at right now. Okay? There is a network of aligned content creators in this field. I am friends with a lot of them. I hype them up regularly. I push for people to subscribe to them as well. Drop Site News being one that immediately comes to mind for investigative reporting. Back in the day, it was The Intercept. Okay? And then beyond that, you got Chapo Trap House for additional commentary. Majority Report, of course. Okay? You got Michael from Pennsylvania. Numerous other content creators on this platform. Frogan, Caroline Kwan, many others. The issue, however, is, you got Blowback with Noah Colwyn and Brendan James. So you have to be infallible on the left, but you can be deplorable on the right. Got it? Yes. Yes. There is that aspect as well. Gremlow, Sean, Carter, Caroline. Exactly. So the point is, I don't think people understand, like, there is a structural hurdle placed upon those who want to speak out against the current order of business. No billionaire is going to voluntarily fund a person to tell others that, you know, being a billionaire is bad and wrong. Yeah, my brother's going crazy right now in the garage. Bro, they literally went after your mod who doesn't even mod for you anymore. Imagine if you had employees. That's what I'm saying. So like this 5 million people watched Candace Owens last night. Shit. Candace Owens like Patrick Bet David. I think that stuff is like they are looking at the overall viewership, not the live concurrent viewership. Like I doubt that it was 5 million live concurrent viewers watching Patrick Bet David. I don't know what the live concurrent viewership of that looked like, but I suspect mine was, let's see if I can find the yesterday's numbers. I don't know what the exact number is. Yeah, I got 7.4 million live views. Yeah, 7.5 million. So I actually got more views than Patrick Bet David did. To be fair, my broadcast was probably longer than his. I'm going to write that. Wait, they're not talking about concurrent viewers? No, dude, are you kidding me? No, they did not have 5 million concurrent viewers, dude. Yeah, his peak was smaller than mine. His peak was 283K. Dan Bongino was number 1. Steven Crowder was number 2 at 460, but they're on Rumble, and those numbers are bunk. Just so you understand. But look at this. Look at this dynamic. So those guys are on Rumble, so those numbers are not real anyway. But even if those numbers are diminished, right? Even if they're not super botted, look at the space. Dan Bongino, Steven Crowder, me, Patrick Bet David, Charlie Kirk, Benny Johnson, Asmongold, Charlie Kirk, hashtag Tucker Carlson, Timcast. I wonder if there's one guy that's different than everybody else on this list. Will the Democrats notice? Will the Democratic Party notice? That's the issue. No shot Crowder had more views than me. I literally haven't heard his name said in months. Yeah, no. Is it logical for you to make a second podcast solo and get bigger and bigger guests and sprinkle in some left-wing ideas into the convos like an Anthony Joe Rogan podcast? No, I do that already in here. The issue is the party does not want to even acknowledge the base. Okay? One thing that I used to say back in the day, was I duked it out with, what is this? I duked it out with Charlie Kirk. Okay, this makes E's dumbass argument that you get no pushback or opposing voices look incredibly foolish and myopically focused on Twitch. Yeah, it's not even myopically focused on Twitch. It's myopically focused on just me, which is kind of sad. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. Back in the day when I was at the Young Turks, I went on Politicon, okay? His YouTube stream at 2 million, much closer to the real number. Yeah, over the course of 10 hours, he accrued 2 million views. That's a fraction of what I got. Out of all of these guys, I'm telling you right now, out of all these dudes, the Rumble numbers are botted as so it doesn't really matter. I probably had the highest live concurrent view count, like real live concurrent view count. But here's the thing. Back in the day when I debated Charlie Kirk when I was at Politicon many, many years ago, we were both, I guess, up-and-comers in our individual political lanes, right? The difference is Charlie Kirk immediately got recognition from Fox News and got direct insight into the campaign. Charlie Kirk was uplifted through the ranks and the Republican Party's machine. And so did Bam Bongino. He came from fucking Fox News. He went to the NRA media outlet. Steven Crowder, in a similar fashion, had worked with the Blaze, right? Patrick Bet David, also right wing. Charlie Kirk, also an operative. So like, my point is that the Democratic Party does not hug and elevate and uplift their independent voices. Part of the difference also is because the Democratic Party does not care about these voices. The Democratic Party actively pushes away their voices. I said this yesterday, and I will repeat it. More than 42 million viewers tuned in to watch 2024 presidential election coverage, down 25% from 2020. And part of that reason is because of people like myself and people like Steven Crowder and Dan Bongino and others. Okay? That's because most people want to get their news from someone like myself or someone like Charlie Kirk. That's just the unfortunate reality. And I think the media has still not caught up to this reality. Okay. That's number one. And number two, this is why I said that the media predicts a massive fucking ratings bump that they're going to get from the Trump administration. That's why they're salivating right now. And I think they're wrong. I don't think they're going to get that Trump bump in the same way that they did. They might get somewhat of a bump, but they're not going to get the same level of viewership bump that they did in the Trump administration the first time around. And part of that is because Trump was president already. There's not going to be the same level of enthusiasm to like attack him, to do the resistance stuff. But beyond that, the space, the media environment, I'd rather watch Mr. Bonarelli. Okay, go watch him then, dumbass. But the media environment, he's like, my man really came in here and was like, I like your commentary, but I really want someone who is white that advocates to say the N-word as a white guy. See, what's missing from your commentary is consistently appealing to 4chan freaks and losers online and constantly advocating to say the N-word as a white guy. That's what's really missing from your sauce. That's the secret special recipe. Anyway, so who has the clip of him openly admitting to platforming Fuentes? Yeah, that too. So like I said, I don't foresee there being this massive ratings bump that CNN and all these other people are like salivating over. Okay. And one of the reasons why I don't see that coming for them is because the media landscape, the media environment has dramatically changed. And what I mean by that is there are far too many outlets that are successful outside in independent media. It's not 2016. There are so many more content creators online. There's so many more ways of access. There's so many more ways of watching different types, different varieties of commentary. So I think that the media landscape is very different, dramatically different. So, you know, you are not an independent voice that the Dem Party wants to associate it with. You are too liberal, and above all, nothing can risk too liberal. This is why I feel so doomed. There's no real true liberal party to represent. No, I'm not too liberal. I'm outside of the scope of the Democratic Party's interest because I'm too critical of the Democratic Party. Because the Democratic Party does not want to listen to the demands of their base. You can say I'm too progressive, maybe. But the point is, the Republican Party fears their base. The Democratic Party runs away from their base. Okay? There is always a group of people that are like, I'm begging, please just like defend marginalized people. And the Democratic Party is like, shut the fuck up. Just go out and vote for me. Suck my dick. Right? Whereas the Republican Party actively courts the most radical elements of its own base. Now, if you're a centrist and you just look at it and go, well, both sides are too extreme, why are you demanding that the Democrats become extreme? It's like, yeah, my extreme position is I want Medicare for all. The Republican Party's extreme position that is now being broadly reflected by Donald Trump is mass deportation. My extreme position is offering pathways to citizenship for people that have lived on U.S. soil. A proposition that is not only not radical, but is objectively more popular than mass deportation every single time it's polled. And yet, people do not have the capacity to look at this and go, maybe that guy's positions aren't radical at all. They only just see the Democratic Party not contending or ever acknowledging the popularity of certain sentiments. They only see the Democratic Party actively shy away from the Bernie bros. And then 8 years later, they're like, where did the bros go? Well, you pushed them away. You can't push away people who want to vote for you every single cycle and then do the surprise Pikachu face when they go somewhere else. Someone is out there looking to pick up their support, and that someone is the Republican Party. Okay? They don't give a f. They'll find something that anyone is interested in and say, I'm going to get you on this issue. Okay? And it's not that Bernie bros are right-wing, even though some are, even though some have become. We're back. Okay. That was annoying. Wow. Once again, that is annoying. Why does it take so long to actively restart my internet, it has to do a new session. Spectrum strikes again. I'd rather have it happen today than yesterday, so it. I was really worried. I was really worried that it was going to happen. I was really worried that it was going to happen yesterday, and I'm glad that it didn't. Back to the Bernie bros. Oh, that's annoying. Are you going to second IP or 5G router so you can set up a failover between the two? Is very common and not that difficult. The problem is in the area that I'm in, it is like somewhat difficult, as in it's cooked. Like there isn't any good alternatives out there, unfortunately. What happened? My internet went in and out. It cut out shortly. Did your internet grab a double-double? We've reached a point of lib conspiracies. Let's see what this is.
Let me also point out something more strange, which has been happening at the same time and hasn't had as much attention. The day before Trump made those remarks on Friday, he said, you're never going to have to vote again after you vote for me this one time. The day before that, on Thursday last week, he didn't say that people wouldn't have to vote anymore once he was elected this November. No, the day before that, on Thursday, he told his supporters, not that they're not going to have to vote again, but that they don't have to vote this time.
What is happening? Like, what is the reason for this? I can't tell if this is an unfair reading of Rachel Maddow because it's like clearly from a right-wing weirdo. Never mind, it's from Call to Activism.
Don't need to vote for him this November.
This is from months ago.
We don't need.
Yeah, guys, this is from a month ago. I feel like if you ask Rachel Maddow now, she's not going to say the election was stolen. Like, that's crazy. Please do not entertain this shit. What the is going on, man? What is happening? What is happening? I want to point to something. Okay. People are crashing out naturally. Can't blame anyone for anyone crashing out. It honestly seems like an understandable reaction. No. Yeah, even he agrees with you. Yeah. Dem operatives should be, well, he agrees with me, but he's not saying I'm that guy. Dem operatives should be scouting young guys with left politics on Twitch the way baseball scouts the Dominican League for kids who can throw 100 miles per hour. But like, there are people like that out there. It's just that they are not recognizing, people are not, the Democratic Party and its media ecosystem does not want that, okay? They want something different. They want people that play the same role that like Charlie Kirk plays. I do feel like a lot of higher ups in the Democratic Party have convinced themselves that Olivia Giuliana and Harry Sasson constitute actual successful youth outreach, when in fact it seems like their job is to convince old people that Democrats are doing successful youth outreach. That's the issue. And it's the same with Podjons. Like, I have one of the youngest audiences. In all of politics. And I know this from YouTube. Like, YouTube data shows that I have consistently the youngest audience in politics. Okay? I don't think you say your audience is 40, but I'm talking about YouTube. And also, not only is it YouTube data, but it's YouTube data in comparison to every other content creator in the space. Okay? Every other content creator in the space, in the news and politics space, before everyone starts chiming in about how old they are, even if you're like 25, even if you're 30, you're still technically younger. You're still in the 18 to 35 demographic, you dumb, you stupid boomers. The very fact that you think you're old as like a 30-year-old is because you're in a much younger space. That's my point. Most people that pay attention to politics, both online and everywhere else, are 65 minimum. Shut the up. What's wrong with you? Look at the average age group for Fox News's television audience is like 78 is the most common age. My point is, there's a lot of this. There's a lot of this stuff out there that where people are like looking for younger people that represent their values, and then falsely assuming that they have a young audience. Okay? That's the issue. The issue is, yeah, Charlie Kirk plays that role for the right. to an extent, but he represents an actual media ecosystem on the right that doesn't really exist on the center/left. The point I'm trying to make is Democrats have issues with the message that comes from someone like myself. They are directly at ideological odds with what I represent, with what this community represents. Okay? Whereas the Republicans lucked in, okay? The Republicans lucked into a media environment beyond the freaks. Like the Ben Shapiro audience is not young. The Charlie Kirk audience is not young. But the Aiden Ross audience is young. The Theo Vaughn audience is young. The Joe Rogan audience is broad. There's older people in there, but there's younger people in there as well. And what a lot of people don't understand in the Democratic Party is that, and in the media space, is that these guys who are like adjacent to right-wing content creators who often churn out like silly stuff and can't be packaged specifically as like right-wing or left-wing, a lot of those guys that do have young audiences are constantly aligning and constantly doing podcasts, constantly collaborating with other people who also are inherently right-wing. Like you got Nelk Boys having Ben Shapiro on, right? There is no equivalent like broader media ecosystem on the left. And on top of that, there is no direct line of communication between someone like myself and like a CNN or an MSNBC, with the obvious exceptions of like, you know, Chris Hayes at MSNBC is a Hasanabi head, or you got, you know, Donnie and some other content creators or some other journalists that are fans of mine or friends of mine. Like those are direct relationships that I've cultivated. And even then the broader media ecosystem on the left or center left, liberal left, whatever you want to call it, is not unified. And they're not even unified with the Podjohns. And the reality is the Podjohns came from Obama. Like they were literally Obama's speechwriters. And even they barely get play in mainstream news. Think about that. And it's not like those guys are at odds with the Democratic Party at all. So there's definitely a lack of communication within the liberal left media ecosystem. And I think part of that also comes from the fact that the Democratic Party is at odds with big chunks of the base. The Democratic Party's base is also diverse, representing different values, right? It's supposed to be a big tent party. Now, the issue is they also actively shut out certain aspects of that tent, massive chunks of that tent, because they're fearful that if they gain more prominence, people like myself gain more prominence, there's going to be a whole lot more Bernie Sanders style candidates out there, and they don't want to contend with that reality. They don't want to deal with that reality. So unless the Democratic Party changes their attitude overall and changes their reliance on the like neoliberal ideological agenda that they have to fucking constantly push for in the most idealistic ways possible, when all signs point to this being an abject failure, unless they do that, they're cooked. And they're never going to be able to recreate the same media ecosystem that the right has, because the right doesn't give a shit. Okay? They don't care that Theo Vaughn has Bernie Sanders on one week and then has Donald Trump on the next week. Okay? Nobody on the right is like, Theo, you piece of shit. You're so goddamn woke. You. They're like, hell yeah, they had Donald Trump on. That's amazing. There's no such equivalent in the left-wing circuits anyway. Like I talked about having Bradley Martin on in a little bit to talk to him about his like Trump support. I'm obviously at odds with him, even though I respect his size. He's 260, brother. I've known him for years. And even when I said I want to talk to him, half the chat was like, what the fuck are you talking to Bradley Martin? Like, that's the problem. You guys are dumb as as well. Even you in here, you're dumb as too. You don't understand how any of this shit works. And you immediately, actively advocate against your best interest. There's no way to like, there's no charitability even a little bit. And what I mean by this is charitability for someone like Bradley is not the same as charitability for someone like Charlie Kirk. That's actively a reactionary professional commentator and not someone who might have been duped by reactionary professional political commentary. That's the difference. But you don't see that. You think every single person is like secretly invested in upholding the values of the Fourth Reich or some shit for marginal differences. So there's that issue as well. And that actually actively shuts off other massive communities from ever interacting with this one. So there's that issue as well. So there's many different issues. But all of these issues combined is the reason why there's no such left-wing media equivalent. Okay? Hasan, you better start grifting right before Uncle Dom finds out about you. Don't worry, brother. Hell yeah. That's why I'm going to have Bradley on and be like, I love Donald Trump. Yeah. And this is not even a joke. My conversation with Brother Banks shed more light on the Trump victory than most mainstream coverage. It's true. Sometimes you got to talk to people where they're at and understand where the fuck they're coming from. If you want to be able to develop a better understanding of like what is going to happen potentially. All right. Now, obviously, I just went through this. I just went through this conversation. It doesn't fucking matter. Every single person just went, oop, in through one ear, out through the other. The moment I talk to another person that has controversial takes or opinions that you don't agree with, you're going to treat it like it's Nazi Germany alive and well in the Hasanabi broadcast. Many think pieces will be written in the chat. Essays will be conducted. Eventually, you'll find out that maybe I wasn't wrong. Anyway, what would you think should happen for the Democratic Party to improve in a perfect world? What should Democrats do? Address the genuine material problems that people are facing. All right? That's it. Never forget, so many people were like, dude, why the f would you debate Andrew Tate? You're platforming Andrew Tate. You're platforming Andrew Tate. No, I was the only person who wasn't platforming him. Huh? Yeah, I'm back. Yeah. I was dunking on him, which, you know, unfolded in really meaningful ways that actually destroyed his entire life, I think. It was the first domino that fell. But, yeah, Andrew Tate already had a massive platform by the time that I got to it, you know? Whereas, like, I would never do the same for, like, some rabid neo-Nazi that has, you know, 300 concurrents, because that would be platforming them, okay? Talk to other leftists, not Trump supporters. There's no point. They don't go for a little. See, this is what I'm seeing. Why are you trying to be buddy with Trumpism? Like, this dude literally didn't hear a single damn thing I just said. Like, straight up, did not hear a single damn thing that came out of my mouth. Like, remember when I said in through one ear, out through the other? There it is. Brother, there's no point in fraternizing with bigots is a funny take to have when you got Donald Trump winning the popular vote, okay? You're living in it, big dog. It's time to figure that shit out. It's time to at least, you know, try to contend with where this is coming from and try to speak reason to not only these people, but also the people that follow them and love them, okay? Perhaps I know a little bit more about the situation than you do. I don't know. Maybe my 10 years of doing this and developing a platform over it has been, you know, not the worst thing. Anyway, guys, you got to stop with this. Like, there's no, please do not entertain these weird conspiracies about the election being stolen. I don't want to see that in this chat. Okay. I don't like it. I don't want to see that in this chat. This is not a community where we let that kind of misinformation sling. The numbers are off though. Yes, dude, the numbers are off because Kamala Harris was historically unpopular. Please, for the love of Christ and all things holy, okay, for the love of Allah, whatever you believe in, okay, recognize that, you know, Kamala Harris lost. She ran a dog shit campaign. She lost 20 million less votes overall from 2020 due to, one, that being a COVID election. It's like the bubble, you know? Anyway, LeBron Mickey Mouse ring. Okay, everybody shut up. We're not going to let any sort of white supremacist sentiment like that fester in this community. I'm sorry. All right. I do not want to hear LeBron slander. I do not want to hear LeGoat slander. Okay. That is the GOAT. And he did his best. He did his best. He was in the tank for Kamala Harris because he knew, you know, what the rising tide of fascism would do to the country. And you guys all, you disappointed LeBron. I've officially decided LeBron is no longer from Akron. He is a Los Angelino through and through, okay? I just want to say, we failed LeBron. Kamala Harris failed LeBron. That is actually the worst thing that she did. It wasn't necessarily that she lost to a right-wing fascist charlatan who had lost his sauce way worse than 2016. And she lost in a worse way than Hillary Clinton even did. That was bad. But some things are unfathomable. Disappointing LeBron James. Okay? Unconscionable. Oh yeah, there's also the this insanity. The reckoning in Biden world, per sources, emerged along three schools of thought. Biden would have won white working class vote. Obama 16 and Pelosi 24 are to blame for pushing him aside twice. Perhaps he was more deeply unpopular than anyone grasped. Ultimately, as Casey and I have discussed on air, the voters are always right and hiding in plain sight. 80% said Biden was too old to run in 2023. Okay? Just 36% approved of his job in office in July. And polls consistently showed the inflation topping all other issues. Can you say hi, Sophie, so my wife thinks we're friends? Thank you. So me and your wife? Hi, Sophie. How do you do this for a living? You've been streaming for so long with such short breaks. Like, is there no part of you that doesn't want to crash out and like go cry and go on vacation? No. I love this shit. I live for this shit. I'm in here in the off season, okay? You might be in here because the election just happened. I'm here every damn day. And the reason why I'm in here every damn day is because not only do I love my community, but I also love what I do. I'm the most fortunate person on the planet, okay? Not a day goes by where I don't remind myself of that. When I first started on this platform, I never thought that I would get to the position that I got to. Like, one of the largest content creators on the platform across the board was unimaginable. Do you understand? Unimaginable. Without compromising my values, especially. Also because it's your job, lol. Yeah, but like, I could just farm subs and max out on ads and do, I don't know, 5 hours a day, 5 days a week instead of 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. Max out on advertisers and shit. I don't do any of that. And the reason for why I don't do any of that, and the reason why I show up every single day, is because I get a tremendous amount of emotional fulfillment from this. I get it because if I can convince one person that has maybe, let's say, transphobic views, if I could just walk them off that cliff of transphobia, then I've done my job. If I can convince one person that is homophobic to not be homophobic, I've done my job. A person with like racist associations to be anti-racist, I've done my job. And I think the way that this community has grown over the course of many, many years speaks to that, where I try to lead by empathy. I try to be understanding. I try to be understanding of where people are coming from. I try to match the energy of the people that, come in here with charitability. Now, there are times, of course, when there's a shit ton of trolls that want to disrupt that process. But, overall, my goal is to have people arrive here with a charitable attitude and make up their own minds and go on their own pursuit, go on their own journey of learning. That's also part of the reason why I yell at you guys quite a bit. Iran hawk to lead Trump's transition. Nice. Last week, Trump was posturing as an anti-war dove to Muslim voters in Dearborn, Michigan. Today's revealed that one of DC's veteran Iran hawks, Brian Hook, will be leading the transition team for Trump's State Department. He's peaceful dove, dude. What now? Is there a way to support you without subscribing? Subscribing is the best way to do it. $6 a month, or for free with a Twitch Prime. You can use your Twitch Primes in here. You can get gifted subs too. I also do merchandise, but that's not really for that doesn't generate that much money, really. But you can buy cool merchandise. The profit margins are not necessarily there for that, union made, American made. So, but I don't mind it. On a sincere note, you've given me several great counter talking points. I've talked to normies who are racist, transphobic, anti-choice, and been able to make them reconsider their positions. You truly have a ripple effect that not many people see. Yeah, that's another great way to support me as well, is by supporting yourselves, supporting others. And, the reason why I talk about this stuff in the way that I do is so that you also... Politics is not for some of you, and that's okay. It's time to really put your back into that marketing job and stop paying attention to things you don't understand. Hasan Energy with Pod Save Bros Politics. Exactly this. Anyway. My goal also is to, help you help yourself. Like, I'm very fortunate and I've been able to do certain things. I want you to better yourself as well, in the same way that I'm always on that journey. And I think that's important. That's why I talked about that quite a bit in the beginning of the broadcast, where I was talking about like going out and working out this morning, right? In order to feel a semblance of normalcy, but more importantly, to be able to control yourself, to control your life, because you still have control over your life, even though things are happening at the state level that you have no control over. Yeah, white men without college degrees are going to ruin this country. Genuinely, if you're a political professional or a strategist and this kind of thing is all you have to offer today, give up, do something else. You're not interested in winning, and it's whatever. Politics isn't for everybody. That's fine. Other folks can take it from here. Like it's not like white men without college degrees is a hotbed for reactionary sentiment. But if you are a Dem strategist, if you're a political operative like Ali Samarco is, you can't say that. You need to address that. You need to literally actively work to separate these young white men from reactionary politics. You need to look at it and go, what is the problem here? How is this happening? How do we fix it? How do we bring them back to the Democratic Party's coalition? How do we make a case that we are interested in their best interest? We're there with them. You know, we see them, we recognize that they are experiencing pain and maybe a sense of entitlement certainly as well. But like, how do we make a convincing argument? How do we make a convincing argument that causes people to change their position? Like, this is, it's kind of silly. Anyway, men without college degrees are the ones fixing her roads and installing her new plumbing. I mean, that there's that aspect of it too. Yeah, this is funny. Ryan Grimm, I am not a flawed writer. Y'all are flawed readers. Do better. It is important that nothing be learned from this. Kamala Harris was not a flawed candidate. America is a flawed country. 62,000 likes. Democrats need to snap out of this weirdo behavior, man. You cannot run a campaign like this. What the is going on, man? What the hell is going on? Like, they just immediately went back to the Hillary Clinton route after 2016 and just went, is it us that's wrong? Nah, it's the voters. The fuck do you mean it's the voters? You're supposed to win their vote, dumbass. Your job is to win their vote. Why else are you tacking to the right? Because you thought that that was going to win their votes. It didn't. Tack to the left now, okay? Except for many people who are, for example, like Ali Samarco, they're former Republicans. And when they're former Republicans that are now working for the Democratic Party, feels like they, didn't fully transition to the Democratic Party or the values of the Democratic Party's base demands from the Democratic Party politicians. So they just kind of motivate the Democratic Party in the direction that they think is good. Does that make sense? Why is it, and I wonder, I ask this all the time, why is it that every single prominent commentator on CNN and MSNBC is a former Republican? Half of these people are Bush-era communications directors. So nobody is saying that America is not a sexist or racist nation. It would be delusional to say such a thing. I don't agree with the sentiment that America is not a racist or sexist nation. Of course it is. So what's the solution? We just don't have any black women in power? What the I don't give a what someone's background is. I care about their policies. I said this years ago, and I've repeated it time and time again. Diversity politics for the sake of diversity in and of itself, or representational politics for the sake of representation without addressing any of the other underlying circumstances is silly. It's nothing, okay? Usually, you want a black person in a position of power because of all of the lived experience that they've had and the personal understanding that they have of white supremacy and its most nefarious ways in which, or its insidious ways in which it dominates people's lives without people even recognizing it. You don't just want a black person in power because they're black. If that was the case, Candace Owens would be woke, okay? That's not how this works. Candace Owens. Anyway, can you give me a quick summary of Peter Thiel's contribution and involvement in the New Right Youth movement? It's rampant in New York City, and I really don't understand where it came from. Money and coke addict, podcast losers who want to come across as edgy, but also simultaneously like intellectual, but right wing, but money. People aren't really having conversations, but just regurgitating what their ideological daddies tell them and put no critical thought into what they say. Everybody turned into mini debate lords post-Trump, and the right's grip on the podcast world better equips the right to defend shameful perspectives when talking to normies. Yeah. Well, that's also because I said this in 2019.
Trump has a chance of defeating Joe Biden. But worse than that, even if Joe Biden wins, I think we go back to business as usual politics here in America. And next time around, it's not going to be Donald Trump. It's actually going to be an ideological.
I'm once again asking why you don't support BDS. The fuck are you talking about? Of course I support BDS, dumbass.
Logically minded fascist, not a proto-fascist who kind of succeeded somehow and fooled Americans for long enough to get into a position of power, but an actual terrifying leader.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. In this situation, I was I was right, but I didn't think that Donald Trump would run again after losing, and then become the actual ideological fascist that he actually is now, surrounded by sycophants too. Do you think Trump would successfully negotiate a ceasefire deal? I don't know. I don't think so. I think he wants to sick Israel on Iran and let Israel do whatever the fuck it wants. But who knows? Maybe in order to get that, Benjamin Netanyahu in the interim will give him a nice little layup to make him go along with the I'm the peaceful dove candidate and stop the pain in Gaza for a brief moment, only to accelerate in the West Bank a couple years down the line, or only to deliver that smoke directly to Iran. So we'll see. It only gets worse from here on out, you know? I can foresee that, though. I can foresee Donald Trump getting that Ronald Reagan style concession, hold off on a ceasefire, wait it out, knowing full well that you'll get a much more favorable deal from your buddy, Donald Trump, and then offered that as a gift to him. Oh, see, we stopped the war in Gaza. Look at that. Boom. 2 years later, they got enough time. They got enough gear. They got enough military support from America. Now they're annexing the West Bank in its entirety. Now they're taking the war directly to Iran with America in tow. I could totally see that.